Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Coding Break. I am your Coding Break host, Tam Talk, here to talk about all things coding related, which includes the good, the bad, and the indifference. So on today's episode, I want to talk about the power of networking. That's right, the power of networking. So for those of you who follow me on my YouTube channel, you know that I was preparing to take an actual coding break. Not one where I step away from the computer, but one where I actually go somewhere and take a break from coding. So I was attending the Becker's conference in Chicago. That's right, I'm in Chicago. And so I love attending that conference because it puts me in the same room with healthcare executives, IT, information technology leaders, other coders, as well as some legal people as well. And so it's almost like it's a brain tank or think tank type of environment where you bring in all those parties in to collaborate on ways to improve the healthcare system, such as the revenue cycle management. Of course, given the day that we're in now, how do we forge forward into digital health, virtual health, all the things that are technology based and how it surrounds or is related to healthcare. And so again, I was able to meet some great individuals. Again, the list or the people attending range from executives to coders to nursing staff to IT, pretty much all of the parties again that are needed to bring any particular project as it relates to healthcare forward. So I wanted to talk about the power of networking. What tools should you have in your bag as it relates to networking, especially if you're new to the coding industry, or perhaps you're somewhat of an introvert like myself and you really not into the small talk. So one of the things that I noticed, and I actually tested it, maybe the second day of the conference, is having some key questions or some key points to discuss as you go about, and again, as you meet the different individuals, as well as even you visit the vendor booths, and what can you talk about? So what I recommend doing is create a list of items that are like, I don't want to say trending items, but some items that are of some significance or importance as of that particular day or as of today, and also those that surround the purpose of the conference. So for example, we were there to talk about digital health, virtual health, as well as the revenue cycle. So of course, we're going to talk about money as it relates to healthcare. We're going to talk about virtual health. We're talking about technology, and we're talking about, collaboration, again, the think tank. So you want to, one, do your research on the various topics, and then two, again, formulate some questions or some statements that you can speak to as you interact with different people. Of course, whenever you attend a conference or an event, you're going to have like your badge and everything, so people can kind of look and see who you are, where you're from, and depending on the pertinent information that is on that particular badge. So, of course, like I said, talking about various things. And so when you approach, for example, if you approach a vendor booth, and again, depending on what type of, vendor you're approaching, or this type of product or service that they are sharing with you or promoting with you, you want to have an idea of, how to engage in that conversation. So, for example, since this is a coding podcast, we're talking about coding, I focus on vendors that were specific to the medical coding industry, right? And some of them, they were kind of off a little bit, but I was able to kind of bring medical coding back into the conversation, such as, of course, the revenue cycle management. Coding is a major part of that as well. So as I, met with different vendors and they talked about their products, they talked about their services. So I had a few key questions. Again, as a coder, how does the implementation of technology plays a part into the role of a coder? So if, for example, if the vendor was their product was focused on medical coding, how is this helping the medical coder? For example, is it taking the job away from a coder? Is it enhancing or streamlining their role? Tell me more. How can your product or service help me as a medical coder? And so again, because I have formulated like maybe 2 or 3 questions to kind of carry the conversation. And I think it makes the vendor comfortable as well, because it allows them to, again, focus on to talk more about their product or service that they're trying to promote. And it bodes well because, one, it looks like you know what you're talking about. I mean, of course, I knew what I was talking about because I work in the industry and I have experience in all that good stuff. And so it looks like you know what you're talking about. 2, I've done my research. And 3, it allows the vendor to promote their service, and it allows you to assess their knowledge of the product or service that they are promoting. So again, this is specific to like vendor booths or what have you. Now, when you're meeting someone, like say from another facility, one thing that I don't do, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, especially if I'm representing another facility. Like if I'm representing my personal business or my personal brand, that's one thing. But if I'm representing another facility, I'm very careful about the information that I share. 1, is it my information to share? 2, was I in the room when this type of information was being discussed or disseminated? Is it my place to share this information with other people that I just met, right? And so I do take notes, like general notes, as it relates to conversations or discussions that are discussed. Because, again, this conference was more of a think tank, and where you bringing in the different parties or different collaborators to discuss or come up with a solution or possible solution to a particular problem. Again, the revenue cycle in healthcare. But at the same time, like I said, I'm very observant. I take notes as it relates to certain things that certain people may discuss or certain vendors may recommend, like with the services or products that they're offering that may be beneficial to a system for perhaps the one that I'm employed with, or beneficial to my brand or my business. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Now, if you are, again, new to coding, you're looking for a coding role, this is an opportunity for you, especially when you're meeting different leaders from different, I would say, hospitals, clinics, entities that are specific to coding. Like if you listen to them, and it's okay to ask if they have like a coding department, if they are looking for a coder. And again, this is just not for new coders. This is also for seasoned coders. Perhaps you're trying to pivot into a different, I don't want to say arena, or especially as it relates to coding, and therefore you may have some experience in a particular area, or you're looking to dip your toe into another area, and so someone you may meet may be in that particular area, and so it's good to network with them. And this is your opportunity to promote yourself, not too much, but to just kind of share what it is that you do, what your interests are as it relates to, I would say, the revenue cycle, the medical coding industry, and how the skills that you have could impact their particular facility or department. Now, for those who are new, again, it's okay to ask the questions, are you looking for coders? I know that, and I would say, I know that, we're moving toward digital health, virtual health. So how are you all utilizing coders, like the coders that you have? Are you looking for new coders? And more likely, they'll tell you that they're looking for someone to kind of go into an auditing role. And I've shared this before, if not on the podcast, but definitely on my YouTube channel, about artificial intelligence. And so if you haven't done so already, you may want to kind of tap into just kind of learning more about it, or even becoming certified in that through AAPC. And so that will set you apart from another coder who just has the coding certification. And I know I've talked about like not having too many certifications or whatever. And so, however, you want to have the certification that you can actually utilize, right? You don't want to go out and get like 50 coding certifications and you not utilize them. But you want to be strategic in your pursuit of coding certifications. For example, if you want to go into an auditing role, you may want to pursue an auditing credential, or you may want to, artificial intelligence certification, because that's where we are, to kind of tap in a little bit on the technology side of healthcare or medical coding. So that's what I mean. But just to say, okay, I'm just going to get this just in case. I'm just going to get this. Just to have it, because it's a status thing, I would not recommend doing that. Get something that you're able to apply and utilize. Be practical about securing your certification. So anyway, I deviated from the original thoughts. So again, that's a question, or these are questions you want to ask someone that you meet at a conference. Like, ask them what are they looking for, and then share what you offer. Exchange information. That's the purpose of the badge. That's the purpose of virtual business cards. That's the purpose of physical business cards, is to exchange information so that you can follow up with that individual later on once you leave the conference. So again, I'm going to wrap this up. So I would recommend doing your research. If you know what the title or the topic is, the trending topic is for that particular conference, do your research on that particular trend or topic. Formulate at least 3 talking points. Again, I spoke about revenue cycle, I spoke about technology, I spoke about coding, right? Because that was the trending topics of this particular conference. And when you meet with the vendor, again, incorporate medical coding into your questions to see how their product or service is considerate, and if it's considering medical coding. Some may or may not have thought about medical coding, and so they may have to go back to the drawing board now that you've brought that to their attention. Another thing I would recommend is asking questions for those in the particular facilities. You may meet someone that's in the same state. You may meet someone in the state that you're looking to move to, or a city that you're looking to move to. And another thing that, again, like I said, depending on what's being discussed, are you in the position to have that conversation? Are you in a position to disclose that information to strangers? Okay. Again, for me, if it's something that's specific to my business or my brand, and I feel comfortable with sharing that, then I will do so. If I'm employed with a facility or entity, again, was I privy to the conversation? Is it my place to discuss that information? So these are things that you have to think about before you start communicating. So yeah, so that is the power of networking. You're not pouring it on too thick, and you're not leaving without having the opportunity to talk. So it's kind of like a mixture of extrovert, introvert. It gives you that healthy balance of the two. So those are my quick tips or things that I thought about, again, as I attended this particular conference. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get it together and head out. All right, so as always, code on, and I'll see you at the next coding break. Toodles.